You sit down. No phone, no music, no task. Just you and a quiet room. And within 60 seconds, something in your chest starts pulling toward the door. That pull is not weakness. It is 300,000 years of survival code doing exactly what it was built to do. What this is going to do is hand you two things at once: the precise mechanism behind why silence feels like a subtle threat, and a way to stop fighting your own wiring so you can actually rest inside your own mind. The part that will permanently change how you see yourself is near the end, and it only makes sense once you understand what came before it. This is ancestral mind, where modern discomfort gets translated back into the ancient language it was always speaking. Here is the label the world has given you: restless, easily distracted, addicted to your phone, unable to be present, incapable of just sitting still. Therapists soften it into mindfulness deficits. Productivity culture weaponizes it into a character flaw you need to hustle your way out of. Your more Zen acquaintances perform a kind of quiet judgment every time they mention their morning meditation practice. And somewhere along the way, you absorbed the idea that if you cannot sit comfortably alone with your thoughts, something in you is fractured. Something in the architecture of your self-control did not get built right. None of that is true, not even close. The discomfort you feel in silence is not evidence of a broken mind. It is evidence of a mind that is exquisitely, almost surgically, tuned to a world that no longer exists. The problem was never you. The problem is that the software running your nervous system was written for a landscape you have never seen. There is an actual name for what happens when the brain is given no external input and immediately begins generating internal threat scanning activity. Psychologists at Harvard call it the default mode network, but that clinical phrase flattens something genuinely extraordinary. Think of it less like a network and more like a night watchman who cannot clock out. The moment external demands drop away, this system activates automatically, and it does not fill the silence with pleasant daydreams. It scans. It rehearses worst-case scenarios. It reviews social interactions for signs of rejection. It catalogs unfinished business. Timothy Wilson, a social psychologist who spent years running a deceptively simple experiment at the University of Virginia, discovered that when people were placed in a plain room with no devices and told to sit quietly for 15 minutes, a significant portion of them chose to administer mild electric shocks to themselves rather than remain alone with their thoughts. They chose pain over silence. Wilson was not studying addiction or anxiety. He stumbled onto something much older than either. And here is where the ancestors walk in. Truth 1. For most of human existence, mental stillness was not a luxury. It was a liability. Picture the savannah at dusk, somewhere in what is now East Africa, roughly 80,000 years ago. The group has eaten, the fire is low. The person who allows their mind to go genuinely quiet, who stops scanning the tree line, who stops listening for footsteps in the dry grass, who lets vigilance soften into actual peace. That person is the one who does not hear the leopard. The nervous system learned this lesson so thoroughly that it encoded it below conscious thought. Silence is not rest. Silence is the gap where something dangerous can enter undetected. The restlessness you feel when you put down your phone is not a modern pathology. It is that ancient watchman refusing to abandon his post. Your discomfort in stillness is the alarm system working perfectly. Truth 2. Isolation from the group was, for most of human history, a death sentence. Not metaphorically, literally. A human separated from their tribe on the open savanna had a life expectancy measured in days. The brain evolved to treat social disconnection with the same neurological urgency as physical pain. Loneliness lights up the same regions of the brain as a broken bone. When you sit alone in a quiet room and your mind immediately drifts toward anxiety about relationships, about whether someone is angry with you, about conversations you should have had differently, your brain is not being irrational. It is running a survival protocol so old it predates language. The silence triggers a check. Am I still connected? Am I still safe within the group? The scan that follows is not neurosis. It is the oldest form of social intelligence your species has. Truth 3. The human brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex, is metabolically expensive. It burns through glucose at a staggering rate. And in an environment where calories were scarce and unpredictable, a mind left idle was a mind wasting a resource the body could not easily replace. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, who spent decades mapping the relationship between brain size and social group complexity in primates, observed that large human brains evolved not for abstract thought, but for social computation, for tracking relationships, debts, alliances, threats, and opportunities within a group. A brain that kept itself occupied with social rehearsal and threat modeling during quiet moments was a brain that stayed sharp for the moments that mattered. The ancient mind was never designed to rest in the way we now demand of it. It was designed to stay ready. Here is the thing nobody tells you, though. And this is the turn that matters. The world changed, the brain did not. In roughly 200 years, human civilization went from small foraging bands sleeping under open sky to a species staring into glowing rectangles in climate-controlled rooms, processing more information in a single afternoon than a Paleolithic human encountered in a month. The threat density of the modern world is almost entirely abstract. The leopard has been replaced by an email. The tribal rejection has been replaced by a comment section. But the watchman inside your skull cannot tell the difference. He hears silence and he starts scanning, because the last time he stopped scanning, something with teeth came out of the dark. The cost of not understanding this is not small. If you spend your entire life interpreting your brain's ancient scanning behavior as proof that you are anxious, broken, or incapable of peace, you will keep trying to fix the wrong thing. You will download another meditation app and feel like a failure when the silence still feels like static. You will medicate the watchman instead of giving him a new assignment. So here is how you actually work with the software instead of against it. The first move is called name to tame, and neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman at UCLA showed that simply labeling what the brain is doing in words in the moment reduces amygdala activation measurably. When the restlessness rises, you say, internally or aloud, "My watchman is scanning," not "I am anxious," not "I cannot meditate." The watchman is scanning. This tiny act of narration shifts processing from the reactive limbic system toward the prefrontal cortex, the newer, calmer part of the brain. You are not suppressing the ancient mechanism. You are translating it into a language the modern brain can actually work with. The second move is to give the watchman something real to do. The brain resists empty silence, because empty silence reads as purposeless vulnerability. But the brain does not resist slow, deliberate, low-stakes observation. Walk outside without headphones and let your eyes move across the environment without agenda, not mindfulness as a performance. Just looking. The watchman is still active, but now it is doing what it evolved to do, scanning a real environment and finding nothing dangerous. That finding nothing dangerous is what the nervous system has always been trying to confirm. You are giving it the evidence it needs. The third move is the most counterintuitive. Shorten the silence before you try to lengthen it. Most people sit down for 20 minutes of forced quiet and spend 19 of those minutes in a low-grade battle with their own nervous system. Start with 3 minutes, deliberately. Then return to the world. The brain learns through repetition that silence did not produce a threat. Over weeks, that window expands naturally because the evidence accumulates. The watchman begins to trust the quiet, not because you forced him to stand down, but because you showed him again and again that the dark outside the fire circle is empty tonight. And here is the reversal that changes everything. The mind that cannot sit still in artificial silence is the same mind that would have noticed the shift in wind direction before the storm. It is the same mind that remembered which berries were safe and